Welcome back to Cinema Mastermind. Today I am delving into a sci-fi horror film called Alien Covenant. Spoilers ahead. Stay tuned and take care. Years before humans ventured into space, the android David was activated and assigned various tasks requiring mental and physical coordination by his creator. David ponders the mystery of his own origins, acknowledging that humans themselves are unaware of their creators, and if he ever learns the truth, it is likely that his creator would have already passed away. Fast forward 11 years after the Prometheus mission to the year 2104. The colony starship Covenant carries over 2,000 colonists in cryosleep, along with more than 1,000 human embryos, en route to the planet Aurigae 6. The ship is operated by the AI Mother and the android Walter, an advanced version of David, while the humans remain in their slumber. With 7 years remaining in their journey, an unexpected neutrino bombardment from a nearby star causes severe damage to the spacecraft. Multiple fires break out, and power is disrupted. 15 crew members awaken to address the crisis, while Walter attempts to extinguish the flames. Unfortunately, they are unable to save the captain, and his wife Daniels watches helplessly as his pod falls and becomes trapped. Despite the loss of 47 colonists and 16 embryos, the surviving crew manages to extinguish the fires. Daniels takes a moment to mourn, while the rest of the crew salvages the captain's body and examines his belongings. In the interim, First Officer Oram assumes command of the ship and directs the crew to prioritize the repairs. Some express the need for time to process their grief, but Oram emphasizes the urgency of fixing things promptly to avoid further loss of life. During their work together, Daniels shares with Walter her late husband's plan to build a cabin, and Walter encourages her to fulfill his wish in his memory. The crew then pays tribute to their fallen leader and releases his body into space. Pilot Tennessee performs a spacewalk to restore the ship's power system, ensuring all connections are properly re-established. While the ship's communications remain intact, Tennessee receives a distorted transmission that catches his attention. Upon further investigation, they identify the source as a nearby planet that appears to be even more suitable for human life than Aurigae 6. Since this seems as though a decent home that won't take them 7 years and no one needs to return to rest after the passings in any case, Oram concludes they'll land there. Daniels converses with him in private to communicate her concerns over visiting a spot they don't know anything about and getting a frightening transmission. However, Oram doesn't see the issue and keeps his choice. At the point when they arrive at the planet a couple of days after the fact, Tennessee, Ricks, and Upworth stay on board the Pledge in Circle, while the remainder of the team heads to the surface in a van. Going through a turbulent air makes the entire transport shake and lose contact with the Pledge, yet fortunately they go through in one harmony and land securely. Maggie stays in the bus to chip away at reaching out to the Covenant again, while the others left to investigate the land. The world they find is loaded with rich vegetation and breathable air, yet some way or another they can't see or hear a solitary indication of creature life. They're additionally amazed there's genuine wheat filling in here, which was old, however certainly developed by somebody. As they explore, Kareen chooses to stop to take a few examples, and Ledward stays with her to safeguard her. While Kareen works, Ledward takes a cigarette break, and unintentionally steps on a few little units, making small microorganisms enter his ear inconspicuous. In the interim, the group goes further and finds a lot of squashed trees, making them can't help thinking about what could be so enormous to cause such harm. Further away, they find a tremendous crashed engineer transport, so they enter it to track down replies, and Hallett goes over a greater amount of those little units, so he ends up coincidentally breathing the microscopic organisms too. The group continues onward and finds frightening sculptures addressing some extraterrestrial society, and an image that had a place with Specialist Shaw from the missing boat Prometheus. Further inside, they inadvertently contact a circle that enacts the boat's primary framework. Uncovering this is where the transmission they heard comes from. Ledward begins feeling sick. From the outset, he believes it's simply a migraine, however he rapidly starts deteriorating continuously, and Kareen illuminates the others that they're going back. The group chooses to follow her model, and at that point, Hallett starts feeling sick too. Kareen drags Ledward back to the bus and he coincidentally hurls blood on her. Maggie assists her take Ledward to the med bay, and when she removes his garments, an injury detonates on his back and showers blood all over as well. Frightened this might be infectious, Maggie leaves and locks the entryway. Simultaneously, Ledward starts having a seizure, and his body begins opening to uncover a pale animal known as Neomorph. Maggie won't open the entryway, so the Neomorph pursues Kareen next, rapidly killing her regardless of her effort to protect herself. Scared, Maggie goes searching for a weapon and attempts to kill the animal, however she fizzles and takes off. The Neomorph breaks the window and pursues her, moving excessively quick for Maggie to land a hit. Unexpectedly, a Wanderer shot hits a few combustible tanks that detonate, killing Maggie and obliterating the boat. Yet the neomorph figures out how to get away. At that point, the group shows up and is crushed to watch their friend kick the bucket. Hallett continues to feel more regrettable, and out of nowhere his mouth detonates too to bring forth a second neomorph that rapidly takes off. In the meantime, Tennessee is stressed over the absence of correspondence and needs to keep an eye in the group. Yet Upworth reminds him it's a better idea to wait for confirmation. It's safe. A couple of moments later, the neomorphs show up, previously having become very bigger. They violently assault the group and kill a couple of individuals as they neglect to land a shot. Unexpectedly, a hooded figure appears and shoots a flare, making the second neomorph take off. The figure requests that the group follow him, and the team is shocked to cross an entryway into the remnants of an old city loaded up with the skeletons of its old tenants. Then, at that point, they enter a sanctuary loaded up with Goliath sculpture heads, and the figure uncovers to be David, who showed up here decade prior after he got away from Prometheus with Specialist Shaw. The boat's freight of weaponized dark fluid incidentally fell over the city when they showed up, obliterating all fauna and contaminating the planet. After the team individuals tell David of their central goal, they go to the rooftop to endeavor to contact the Covenant, yet the storm doesn't allow it. Back on the boat, Tennessee disregards Rix's and Upworth's fights and orders them to fly through the storm to save the group. In the meantime, Oram apologizes for not having paid attention to Daniels. However, she remains strong of his situation. David refers to Walter as brother prior to passing on to trim his hair. Walter is curious about this older model and goes to check out the rooms, where he finds lots of drawings and instruments. David discovers him seeing a few woodwinds he made himself and chooses to show him how to play them. It turns out that because David had been such a rebel, the new models like Walter were made without the ability to create. Subsequently, David takes Walter outside, and he starts recalling the day he showed up here. Dissimilar to everything that he said to the others, the dark fluid hadn't fallen coincidentally. He released it on purpose and coldly watched how the nearby populace was completely consumed right away. After quoting Byron's credited sonnet about Ozymandias, David presents Walter with Shaw's grave, claiming he loved her. Walter doubts this, asserting that as androids they are incapable of love, and suggests that David is confusing duty with affection. Shortly thereafter, the fully developed neomorph sneaks into the sanctuary and confronts one of the crew members. She reaches for her gun, but the neomorph is quicker and swiftly kills her. As the Covenant navigates the storm and finally reaches the team, David discovers the neomorph feeding on the body and manages to communicate with it calmly. However, Oram intervenes and promptly shoots the neomorph, enraging David. Witnessing this strange reaction, Oram demands to know the true story behind the events. David leads him to a lab, showcasing his genetic engineering efforts to create a superior life form from the creatures born from the black substance. He then guides Oram into a lower-level chamber where several eggs of his creation reside. Assuring Oram of their safety, David invites him to take a closer look, only for an egg to open, releasing a facehugger that attacks and impregnates Oram. Meanwhile, the team prepares to depart but realizes that some members are missing. They discover their friend's lifeless body and decide it is crucial to find Oram immediately. Moments later, David reveals to Oram his belief in creation and witnesses another alien bursting out of Oram's chest, instantly killing him.
What the hell?
Designs. Walter confronts David, who is in tears while playing the flute as a tribute to Shaw's memory. David asserts that humans, a dying species desperate for revival, do not deserve to live as they were not made to serve. Walter challenges David's sanity, pointing out his misattribution of the poem's author as evidence of his unreliability. Unwavering in his conviction that his creations are the perfect organisms, David tells Walter that no one will ever love him as he does, only to exploit the moment as a distraction and attack Walter, incapacitating him. Lope and Cole continue their search for Oram, but as they enter the egg chamber, they are ambushed by a facehugger. It latches onto Lope's face, incapacitating him, but Cole manages to kill the facehugger with his knife. However, their predicament is exploited by a protomorph that attacks and kills Cole while Lope flees. Meanwhile, Daniels discovers a hidden room adorned with drawings that unveil the truth about David's disturbing experiments. David surprises her from behind and initiates an immediate assault, leading to a fierce struggle. And in that moment, Walter arrives to provide assistance. A fierce duel ensues between the two androids, both equally skilled and swift. David ponders whether Walter can genuinely prioritize humans over his own brother. Daniels flees and meets Lope. The two of them leave the temple together and send a signal to the Covenant to indicate where they are. The protomorph quickly pursues the three of them as they race for the landing ship once Walter has joined them. As they board the ship and shut the door, Walter informs them that he has slain David. However, when they emerge, they find the protomorph has jumped on the Covenant too. Daniel steps outside while maintaining a rope attachment to the ship. Then she starts firing at the alien. The protomorph evades her attacks and starts destroying the front window, but Tennessee maneuvers the ship with daring rolls to make the creature fall aside, giving Daniels the chance to engage it directly. The Covenant nearly crashes, but Tennessee swiftly restores control to finally depart the planet. Shortly after, Upworth aids Lope in treating his burns while Daniels helps Walter mend his facial injuries. Once everyone recovers, the crew prepares to emerge from cryosleep and complete the final 7 years of their original journey. Tennessee reminds Daniels of her new role as captain, and they embrace for solace in their shared loss. Suddenly, a ship-wide alarm signals the presence of an unidentified life form on board. Daniels and Tennessee rush to the medical bay, only to find Lope dead on the floor after a second protomorph bursts from his chest. Meanwhile, Rix and Upworth enjoy a shower, which is abruptly interrupted by the protomorph, resulting in their tragic demise. Daniels and Tennessee embark on a search for the alien, discovering the lifeless bodies in the shower. Determined to confront the creature on her own terms, Daniels requests that Walter seal the doors, luring the animal into the terraforming chamber, initiating a fierce battle. Daniels manages to trap the protomorph in a vehicle and instructs Walter to open the doors, causing decompression that ejects everything into space. However, the resilient protomorph breaks free and attempts to attack Daniels, who bravely holds her ground while another descending vehicle collides with the creature, propelling it out of the Covenant. For a brief moment, Tennessee fears Daniels has also been expelled, but she emerges unscathed, gripping the edge. Following this ordeal, the time has come for cryosleep. Tennessee enters his pod first, and as Daniels enters hers, she reminds Walter of their agreed-upon promise to create a haven. As the android fails to recognize the commitment, Daniels realizes that the person before her is not Walter, but David, who cunningly disfigured himself to assume Walter's identity. Daniels cries out in vain as David activates her pod, subjecting her to cryosleep, proceeding with the next phase of his sinister plan. David enters the cryosleep chamber alongside the colonists and deposits 2 small, dormant facehugger embryos, storing them alongside the human ones. He then records a log masquerading as Walter, claiming that all crew members, except for Tennessee and Daniels, perished in the initial accident, while affirming that the ship remains on course for Origin 6. Like and subscribe to Cinema Mastermind for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.